right, well, welcome Team ET. We've got a great guest lined up for you today, and uh, great to have you here on our live broadcast. You know, there's certain people in the world that I love engaging with, and our guest today, Shaun Banks, is one of those people. Shaun's sitting over in Atlanta, Georgia, and as you'll hear shortly, Shaun is one of those unique individuals, I have to say, that is really about just giving and giving. And you'll understand why I say that shortly. But Shaun, welcome to the ET Project. Great to have you on the show, my friend, and really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, Wayne, thank you so much for having me. For the first time we talked, man, I just really enjoyed our conversation and looking forward to a great show as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you know, we had, I think it's international, but we had Children's Day maybe a month back now. Do you celebrate that over in America as well?
They celebrate it in the U.S. Yes, not it's not as much as we should. I would definitely like to see us do more in the U.S. as it pertains to
Mm.
uh, Children's Day. I think we can do a lot more with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it occurred just after we had our first conversation. So the idea came to me, why don't we have a live broadcast with Shaun, and we'll talk about everything you're doing, which will take us a full hour.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You're doing so much. Um, you know, I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and I really feel and am grateful for people like yourself that are giving so much to try and educate and um, help children develop and grow, particularly in today's world, which is not so easy for anybody, right? Um, more
Right.
so, more
Right.
so,
Yeah.
there's so much uncertainty out there. So, Sean, maybe as an introduction, if you don't mind, you know, what is it you're out there doing in the world at the moment? You're doing so much, but if you can give us a broad overview, and then we'll dive deeper into it.
Absolutely. So I am in youth personal development field. I've been doing that for the last 20 years, and so right now I am, we're knee deep in, or probably waist deep, in Camp Warrior King doing our summer camp, which exposes kids to activities they normally wouldn't experience during the school year. We have a couple of youth conferences we'll be doing in Uganda and in South Africa this year. We have the You Can Have It All Kids Motivational Magazine. It's an international magazine designed to motivate kids to go after their dreams in spite of the circumstances and to be motivated by other kids. I mean, just so much, man. A team hot sauce
Yeah,
brand designed to build self-efficacy in children. I mean, just anything that's around, developing these kids is what we're focused on doing.
yeah, it's fantastic. I'm going to dive into each one of those because they're so incredible. But I can only imagine that as you get to meet a lot of the parents and kids, you're probably seeing a lot of hardship in the world. I'm just wondering, how do you stay energized yourself? What excites you at the moment about what you're doing or life and the world today? How do you stay up um, yourself?
Well, what helps me stay up is being able to see the kids get it. The idea that, or the hope that, there's a kid that is getting our content and it's making a difference, right? We know that if we have good content, we get that content out,
Mm.
that somebody's getting that information and that it's making a difference in their life on a day-to-day basis, and that's what keeps me going, as well as the fact of being able to see it grow. I didn't want to work with kids originally. I had zero passion with working with youth, and to now be able to impact kids around the world is something that I always wanted to be able to make a difference. I just didn't know how that was going to be, and so to be able to do that now, and to know that what we're putting out there will have a positive impact on the youth makes me feel good, just because of everything going on in the world, that maybe one of these kids will get it and be able to say, hey, look, I can be what I want to be. Hey, I had this poster on my wall, or I watched a video, or I saw something where it really inspired me, and so that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, yeah, it's really incredible, I have to say, and kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back to, you mentioned something like 20 years ago, right? How did it
Uh-huh.
all start? Like, and I don't even know if you're still doing it now, but where did you start? You founded a business. Where was that, and what was that?
Well, it started uh, with the martial arts program. I started teaching self-defense to women and children, and
Mm,
that came from a domestic violence situation that happened with our family. My aunt and cousin were actually murdered in a domestic violence situation, and it inspired me to always want to do something in their honor. And I just never knew what it was going to be, Wayne. I had no idea what I was going to do, and so
mm,
years after that happened, a buddy of mine said, "Hey, look, why don't we open up a martial arts program?" And that's where it started. And so from there, I saw the need for, during the summertime, there was a need for personal development in kids, right? We see adults going to conferences and
yeah,
reading books on personal development, but you don't really see that in a lot of kids. They
mm,
kind of get overlooked. But now with so much exposure with social media and television, and they're just getting inundated with so much, kids need personal development at a younger age. So at 6 7 8 years old, yes, they need to hear, they need to learn how to build a dream board, or how to visualize, or how to have focus and discipline. And so as I start to see those needs, I just said, okay, look, let's attack it. And what makes it all very profound, for me anyway, which makes me laugh about it, is because I had zero interest to work with kids. I mean,
yeah.
this isn't anything that I thought that I would be doing, and so now here we are, 20 years later, man, working with all these rugrats all over here.
What's the age group like? How young do they first come to you, and what's the limit?
We typically start with kids at 5.
Wow.
So we get them starting at 5 years old, and I mean all the way up to, with our camp, it's 5 to 15. With the other projects that we do, I mean from 5 to 105, right? We're dealing with all different groups of people because we work with parents, showing them different strategies to improve their child's performance. One of the things that makes me unique with what I do is I don't talk really about parenting, because I feel that parenting is a very intimate thing, right? Nobody knows your child better than you do. So I can't tell you how to necessarily, I can tell you what not to do, things that don't work, right? Don't curse at your child, right? Don't hit them with over the head with a brick, right? Those obvious things don't work. But the performance, how to get them to perform at a higher level, is what I can show them how to do. That's what
Right.
I've been doing for years.
And with the martial arts, it was called I Am Defense, if I'm correct. Is that
That's correct.
still running, or you're no longer involved?
No, it's still running. I'm Defense is still running. We still teach at a couple schools now. Not as many as we used to when we started, because we've branched out into more personal development, and ways to be able to get, the personal development products and tools that we have out to different people around the world. Because what I realized, that this is a big problem, right? As far as personal development, and there's kids all over the world where they need to hear motivation. And so, that was where I wanted to, branch out to. So I don't do as many schools as I used to.
Okay, cool. We I have a colleague. I think we spoke about him last time, called Professor Xavier, and
Yeah,
he's I think a sixth Dan black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he comes out of
right on.
um, the Gracie family, or he was educated through the Gracie family. So we're going to connect with you in the near
Yeah,
future.
man.
I look forward to that connection, and hopefully he can also bring something for the kids that you're doing such a great job with. So after
Absolutely. That would be wonderful.
martial arts, as you've said, you branched out into personal development. So what was next after that? Was it the camp, or what came next?
Yeah. So after the martial arts program, it was Camp Warrior King. So we I was teaching at different schools, at elementary schools. I didn't have a dojo of my own. I saw that it was, just a better strategic move to actually go to the different schools.
Right.
So the plus was we could offer martial arts at a very economical rate so that
Mhm.
the masses of people could be able to learn about self-defense. The disadvantage was the schools are closed during the summertime.
Right.
So there was this big need there for, for the kids and for myself,
Mm.
okay, well, how do we, keep this thing going, right? How do we keep being able to throw logs on the fire? And it was, with the summer camp. And so at first, I started with the spring camp. The parents really enjoyed it. And then that very summer after that spring, the parents said, well, hey, look, what are you going to do for the summer? And I said, well, what do you want? And a couple of them said, we want a summer camp. I said, cool, I'll do one for a week. And they were like, no, we don't want one for a week. We want one for the whole summer. Can you do it for 9 or 10 weeks? And so I said, oh gosh, we'll go for it. And we did. We went for it. And so we're celebrating our 10th year with Camp Warrior King this year. And it's been great, right? We've been growing every year. The kids love it. We're developing a lot of youth. We get kids from all over the country that come in, are staying with their relatives or coming in out of town, and
Yeah.
they come to Camp Warrior King. And so that was the next one. Yeah.
So what happens when they come? Like what sort of things are you doing with them?
Oh man, we we teach them. I mean, they go fishing. They fish. They hike. They learn how to hunt. They learn how to like skeet shooting, right, with a little orange disc to fly through the air, right. They learn how to
Right.
shoot. We basketball workshops. We do baseball workshops. We have all kind of personal development classes. They right now we have kids that are making a short film. They're in, recording in the studio. We have kids that are doing step classes and cheerleading and bracelet making and learning how to fly, how to build paper planes and to fly them, learning origami. We have a Legos and jazz class. We have a coloring and music class. We have a hair braiding class. We taking whitewater rafting. Anything that they can think about doing, anything that we think kids would love, we do with them. So over those 10 weeks, we try just to expose them to as much as possible. There's tennis lessons at camp. There's karate. There's boxing. Just anything that we think they would love. There's rocket building, right? So they go out and they build these rockets and shoot them up in the air. It's all this different stuff that they want to do is what we do with them at camp.
Fantastic. So I can only
Yeah.
imagine that with kids you need a lot of hands on deck. So you must have a big team. You must have a great team that love this type of engagement.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We have a great team of people. You can't do it without a solid team, especially working with this many kids. You have to have a great team. You have to have people that love to work with kids or realize that they love to work with kids. We've had a lot of staff over the years who come in and work at our camp and then realize, hey, this is something I want to do with my life. That I want to be a teacher or an educator or have some imprint on kids in a positive way.
Yeah.
But you got to have a great team, and so we definitely have that. Yeah, definitely have a great group of guys and girls that are making it happen.
How do people connect with you in that regard? Like in terms of is it a volunteer service or do people come on the payroll? Like how does that work?
No, they come on payroll. When you're talking about somebody working with kids, 10, 12 hours a day, you got to pay them, right? Nobody wants to volunteer with kids that long. Not that long, man. You volunteer with kids is a half hour, an hour at the most. You may do a half a day, out, and that's out the goodness of your heart, man. But anything outside of that, no, you got to get paid if you want to. If you want them to do a good job and actually watch the kids, you got to pay them. Even when you're paying them, you got to make sure that they're doing their job. So, these are people that we go out. Normally, they're educators that have breaks over the summer. People that work at daycares. We get a lot of college students that want to be educators or want to, be like outdoor camp directors, things like that. And so we give them a shot. Come work at Camp Warrior King and get that experience.
We were just joking before we hit record about you must be the project manager superstar because I can only imagine how challenging and how dynamic the whole camp environment must be. So, I mean, what does a normal day look like for you? As you wake up in the morning, do you sort of, oh, here we go again, or
Sometimes, sometimes you wake up and you say that. I mean, sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's like it's so early. But a typical day for me during camp time, I mean, I'm up anywhere between 3:30, 3:45, 4 in the morning, and I get up and I go to the gym because that's my time to just kind of get my mind right, get excited about what's going on, get myself fired up. So I hit the gym. Then after I hit the gym, I come back and then I get down to campus. And from the moment my feet hit the campus until the day is over and the kids are gone and the staff are gone, I am, on all cylinders. So I'm typically spending, you know, anywhere between 16 to 19 hours, just from start to finish. I mean, I try to get myself good 5 or 6 hours of sleep if I can, but it's just challenging with what we got going on, but I'm used to it. And but yeah, it's all day. I mean, we have a powwow in the morning which we get kids fired up about the day. Kids normally start getting to camp at about 7. And like I said, we do that powwow where we get them excited. We have a personal development session where I actually speak to the kids, and I talk to them about different personal development aspects. Starting tomorrow, for example, I created something called the success stacks, and they're
Mm,
words and phrases that build a child's self-efficacy. They're actual cards.
yeah.
And so starting tomorrow, we're going to start getting into those words and phrases. And so I spent about 5 minutes, not a long time, just going into some personal development aspect, which starts with visualization. That's what I start with every morning. I tell them, hey, look, close your eyes. I say to them, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would your goals be? And so we're building on that, right? Let's go
Right.
back to that thing we talked about and visualize it. And so I do that. Then they'll go to their classes. We have educational, class courses in the class. So they'll get reading, writing, math, social studies, and science in their group based on their grade. And so they'll
Okay.
do that. Then they'll have lunch. Then they'll do extracurricular activities. Some kids are going on field trips, at the same time. There's a speaker coming in over here. There's some vendor coming in that's gonna, teach them how to do, have an entrepreneurship class. So we have like a woodworking class this year, and then, we're doing all that jazz. And by that time, I mean, the day's about over.
Yeah.
So it goes pretty fast, but it's a lot.
So, so it sounds like you must have facilities as well. So this is not just sitting out in the under the tree somewhere. You must have areas set aside, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So we have what is it, four different buildings that we use for our campus. So that, including soccer field. It's huge space. Just so the kids can run around. And then keep everything secure and safe, just so that the kids are safe. But yeah, it's a lot of space, and we're constantly outgrowing the spaces that we're in. So one of the things that we're working on is securing a building where we can actually be able to grow this thing on a massive level and be able to do more year-round projects. So so definitely a lot of work.
It's just phenomenal. I mean, it's fantastic, but phenomenal. Let's come back to the success stacks. So, as you said,
Sure.
they're a deck of cards. Now, if I understood it
Uh
correctly,
huh.
it's like the A through to Z of cards, and each letter stands for a different word. Is that the
That's
way?
correct.
And each
That's
word is
correct. Would you
a developmental word.
hmm Would you like to see some?
Absolutely, sir. If you have some in front of you, yeah,
Sure, I do. I do. I got 2 seconds. Two
yeah.
seconds, Wayne. Don't go anywhere. I got you.
I'll hang around.
Yeah,
Don't worry. I'll
yeah.
have a
2 seconds. I can talk.
I'll have a drink on
Yeah,
my.
don't go anywhere. Yeah. By the time you finish that sip, man, I got you. So these here, all right. So these are called the Team Hot Sauce Success Stacks,
Right.
and see all these deals here, right? And they're words and phrases designed to build a child's self-efficacy. So, for example, they're in alphabetical order, and the first one right there, you see that is achieve. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And so on this card, it says achieve. It's a verb. The definition is to successfully bring about or reach a desired objective, level, or result by effort, skill, or courage. That's the dictionary definition. And then we give an example. I can achieve my ambition by becoming a right or becoming in whatever. So becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, whatever. And then I have another one that says, she achieved the highest score in history. And so what we do with these cards is we teach the child the word, we give them the actual definition, dictionary definition of it, give them a couple examples, and then we get them to use it in a sentence, right? So, okay, we'd say, okay, Wayne, use the word achieve in a sentence. And then you would think of a sentence and you would use that word achieve. And we say, okay, now you're going to go to school today or throughout your camp day or throughout your day during the summer, try to use this word 4 or 5 times. At the end of the day, you kind of do a review, or when you go to the next word, you do a review. Hey, Wayne, what does achieve mean? Oh, achieve means, to accomplish a goal or to accomplish an idea. All right, use it in a sentence, and they use it. And so that idea, so now that word is in their vernacular because they're hearing so much. So now if they have a challenge or they see, they have a goal, say, oh, I can achieve that. I can do it. Right. They understand it. And so that's the idea behind the success stacks. And it's a lot of fun for kids because they're getting to actually understand what some of these words mean, as opposed to saying you need to be determined. Well, what does determined really mean? Right. You need to be resilient, right? Or you need to be tenacious, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between being resilient and being tenacious? There's a difference.
Yes.
Right? Resilient is being like a ball, right? You hit the ground, you bounce back up, right? Tenacious is pressing forward. So they need to understand that, so then that way they can use it in their life.
It's incredible. And these cards, by the way, they're commercially available. You can buy these online, I believe.
Yes, they can buy them online. They're available in physical form and also in digital form. So people can just download them right to their phone and be able to use them with their kids. We're working on getting them in multiple languages around the world so that people can have it based on, the language in their country, which is really important just because some words that are in English language or in Spanish language or in Sri Lankan or, and just in Mandarin, right? Some words aren't in, there's different words that aren't in other languages. So we want to make sure that we get the words that are appropriate,
Right.
To that particular country.
Yeah, that's an important point, actually. There's a lot of words in different languages that just don't have, or don't exist, or don't have the same meanings, right?
Right. But are powerful.
Oh, hugely powerful, yeah. I love these. I've just made a note to myself that I'm going to download a set for my daughter. So excellent. Thank you for that. You're somewhat of an artist, Shaun, it seems like. There's a lot of innovative, creative ideas that come out of that mind of yours. How do you have a team that then does the graphics for you? Like, what's the process?
Absolutely. So, with you have a designer, right? I have a designer that'll design. And now it's a lot easier than what it used to be, 10 or 15 years ago to be able to get, products to market. It used to be extremely expensive to be able to kind of flush an idea out. But the power of technology has made it possible. So just maximizing the opportunity that technology provides to be able to, get these ideas out. But yeah, there's designers for, for the shoelaces, for the stacks, for the magazine, for all that stuff. Is just finding different designers freelance normally that are available to be able to help me flesh out these ideas.
My friend, you make it sound all so easy. I know the challenges of doing each one of those steps personally, but
yes,
it's not as easy as you're making it sound. But congratulations. You also created, I think it's nine characters, the hot sauce team.
Yes.
The value or the purpose in these characters, how do you use them?
So Team Hot Sauce are personal development characters. And what Team Hot Sauce, they are the the garden guardians, right? The veggie defenders, and they go all over the galaxy, fighting negative insects, right? We call them the negatoids, and they're just insects that just spit out bad ideas. And they go all over the galaxy fighting these insects off. and teaching other people how to do it and defending them from right these insects, which are ultimately negative thoughts and ideas, right? So the whole concept is around self-efficacy, which is
Mm.
the idea that I can do something, right? And around self-confidence, right? I can be something. And so, you know, and so we're really flushing out that we're in the, origin stages of these characters, kind of like where they began, starting to, give them an identity. And so, for example, this one here on my shirt, this is Brock Lee. And so Brock is obviously a broccoli stock. One of the other shirts we have for him is is watch the crown or respect the crown, because a broccoli head is actually called a crown. And, but, it's just getting these kids kind of making it fun for them,
Yeah.
because a lot of times personal development seems like schoolwork.
Yeah.
And so it's making that idea of schoolwork or development fun,
Mm.
right? You can be somebody, right? You can be cool. So this guy here he's a shadow warrior, right? And he's also a lawyer because he wants to be a lawyer. And the idea is that you can be whatever you want to be. And so, one of the things we used to tell kids a lot of times, that kids will say, when you ask a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? They'll say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a police officer, and I want to be a pilot. And adults always say, no, 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 you can't do all that. You got to pick one. And it's not necessarily true,
Yeah.
right? So what happens is, we take our own failures, if you will, or our own limited thinking, just because time kind of does that. And we say,
Yeah.
look, you can't do all this stuff. You got to narrow it down to this one thing. When the reality is, we want them to stay out there, right? They'll learn themselves either what they want to do or what they're not able to do, and they'll chop it down. But what we don't want to do is kind of do it for them, right?
Yeah.
We want to keep the reins off, and so that's what Team Hot Sauce is about. It's get them just that imagination explosion, just whatever you see, whatever you think, go for it.
I'm imagining our listener base at the moment is just blown away by what you're doing. Let's look at you have a youth conference, and you mentioned that you're going to Africa shortly, but fill us in a little bit about what the youth conference is all about. You can have it all, is what it's called. Where did
Yes.
this idea come from?
So you can have it all came after the camp,
Hmm.
where we have this camp, and we realize that, okay, if there are kids in this area that need personal development, there are kids in other areas around the world that need personal development. How do we get that to them? How do we get personal development to these kids? And so that's where you can have it all came from. It was the idea that, I don't want to go and open up tons of camps all over the country or all over the world. But we still need to be able to get the ideas and things that we're pushing this positivity out, because I believe, Wayne, that motivation is a universal language. Every child around the world wants to be motivated, has a dream, and wants to be able to do something, and should have the chance to be able to do it. And part of the thing that makes that possible, or one of the key ingredients, is personal development. You got to have some focus, you got to have some grit, right?
Yeah.
You got to have some resiliency, some tenacity, some right. And so we want to get that to the kids. That's where you can have it all came from. Was a youth conference trying to get kids motivated, and it came out of adversity, right? Like you said, none of this stuff is easy.
Yeah.
At first, I couldn't get on any stages, right? I would talk to people, say, look, I work with youth. I want to talk to parents or talk to people about how to develop their youth. And people would say, we're not interested. Blah, 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 blah. So I said, well, okay, we'll just create our own. We'll create our own platform where we can get our information and our message out to people. We're not going to wait for somebody to tell us to approve our message. We'll
Mm.
approve it ourselves. It's good. Let's get it out there.
Yeah.
And that's where you can have it all came from. That's where the magazine came from, right? That content, that's where it all came from. Just positive content for kids.
It's incredible. So, what's the connection with Africa? I mean, how did you get to Africa? It seems like you're sitting in
Yeah.
Atlanta, Georgia. How are you suddenly in a different continent?
I met a guy that I met actually online. I met a guy, and he said, you should come to Uganda and do a conference here. And I guess
No worries,
when
just
he
come
said it, I
on.
guess, yeah, he was like, yeah, you should come out to Africa and do a conference. And so I said, well, let's do it. That's part of my vision, is to get out and get around the world and to motivate people to go after their dreams. So when the opportunity came, I said, let's do it. We talked a little bit, and I realized that he was, a legitimate person. He was real. And I said, okay, cool, let's do it. And so we went out there and we did a conference for about a week. Youth conference, and it was fantastic. I mean, we had a wonderful time. The people were welcoming, a beautiful, beautiful country, Uganda, and it was great. At the same time, while I was there, I had never seen child poverty before.
Right.
Being in the United States, you might have, they talk about child homelessness here in the U.S., but you don't see it, right? You don't see children on the street. You'll see adults, that are homeless, but I can't think of a time in my life that I've actually seen a child on the street. Not to say that they're not here, but I just haven't seen it. And
Yeah.
so when I went to Uganda, I actually saw that for the first time, and it broke my heart to see, kids that were the ages of, my children on the street without shoes, without anything. And then we couldn't feed them because, they would fight. So, if you fed one, you had to feed 10 of them so that they wouldn't fight each other for food. Like, that's how serious it is. And so there was an orphanage there that was getting ready to shut down because they couldn't keep the doors open. And I talked to a gentleman. I said, well, what is it going to take for us to keep this orphanage open? Of course, the answer is resources, which is normally what it is.
Right.
And so we took over that orphanage. And so it's been about 5 years now. We've had the You Can Have It All orphanage in Bombo, Uganda, East Africa. And so that was something that we didn't plan on doing. But it's something that I talk about a lot anytime I get an opportunity to speak with someone, because that orphanage it's physically, it's grassroots on the ground, getting children that are homeless off the street, getting them some education, feeding them, and giving them some hope that they can be something. And so for my kids here at camp, I'm always on them like, look, you think you got it hard. You have $300 pair of LeBrons on. You have no idea what it's like to not have any shoes and live in a box. So we portions of our proceeds from the things that we do around the world go towards making sure that this orphanage is sustained and keeps going. Our orphanage now, and I want to be able to build others all over the world, because I believe that there are going to be children that are going to come out of these orphanages that are going to just rock the world in a very positive way. And we want to make sure that we're doing our part to make that happen.
And you are an incredible individual, I have to say. This year, you're
Thank
going
you.
to, I think you mentioned August, you're going back to Uganda, South Africa, I think you
Yes.
mentioned as well. So,
Yes.
yeah. So what do you do when you go over for these conferences? What's it involved?
So for Uganda, it'll be, it's all about motivation. We get them together and we'll do like a field day event. So last time I was there, we did a parade through the city. We had kids at different orphanages that are there to be able to make funds. They'll perform. So it's one that has a band, and I can send you pictures of it with me and this band, right? And all these kids, and so we'll do like a band, like a parade. They'll have
Right.
marching bands, and we'll go through the city. We'll do field day games, so they'll play soccer or football. They'll do sack races. We'll do relay races, tug of war, and then we'll speak to them and give them some motivational nuggets, and then we'll feed them. We'll have we'll cook a lot of food and feed anybody that comes, and then we'll go check on the orphanage and talk to the kids and do that. And that's Uganda. In South Africa, we have a team of writers out of Durban, South Africa. Well, some are in Durban, some are in Johannesburg, and some are in Cape Town. But we're going to go there and start events there, start doing youth conferences there as well. And hopefully we can connect with the orphanage there so that we can start to be able to figure out how to support, either partner with the orphanage that's already doing something great there, or be able to, be able to start our own.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. What I can
Yep.
only imagine, there must be a lot of kids um, that are particularly in some of the poorer uh, areas of Africa. How do you deal with the numbers? Like if I look at your website, I look at the youth conferences, it looks like a lot of children. So how can you
Yeah.
cope with that sort of volume?
Well, the what we do is we, unfortunately have to limit it to our resources, right? We limit
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
what we're able to do, in particularly in Uganda, and that's this what we do, and so that's why we want to do the conferences on a regular basis, so we can at least the kids that aren't able to be in our orphanage, we're at least able to give them something, right? Some kind of nugget, some kind of hope,
mm,
to be able to keep them going. But yeah, there's definitely. Uh, I mean, there's so much work to be done because there's so much, child homelessness and there's so many
yeah,
abandoned kids just from the wars and all that stuff going on. And and also these are developing cities, right, and countries as
yeah,
well, right? Like, Kampala is not it's not, in the bush, right? It's skyscrapers and it's a bustling city and it's tons and tons of development. At
right,
the same time, on the outskirts of these major cities, there's a lot of poverty. But I caution on how I describe it because what may seem like poverty to me as an American,
yeah,
right, is not at all poverty to someone else.
yes,
There's a lot of joy and happiness
abs-
right there, right. And so I try to make sure that I'm very cautious and mindful of that, because I realize, hey man, there there people are happy all over the world, right? There's a lot of challenges going on, but just because it seems like, they're having a hard time doesn't necessarily mean that they are, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I've seen people that, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah,
okay, it may not seem like they have much, but they got a whole lot more a lot of times. And, a lot of people you see in these high rise and have millions of dollars and are jumping off of bridges.
yeah, yeah, very, very true, my friend. I
Yeah.
spend a lot of time myself in India. Um, you
Yeah.
know, certain cities like Mumbai with the slums, you see the
Uh-huh.
kids, they're so thin, you can see the ribs sticking out type of thing, like I'm sure in Africa. Um, but
Yeah.
the biggest smiles you could ever imagine on their face. They're
Yeah.
happy with anything that they have in life. They just have a totally
Yeah.
different perspective on what
Yeah.
it is.
Absolutely.
It,
Absolutely. And they appreciate it.
they appreciate it so much, right? Yeah. Um, there's so many things you're doing. I want to make sure we try and cover it as much as we can. But you mentioned earlier that you also have a magazine, motivational
Uh-huh.
magazine. It
Uh-huh.
dovetails off the youth conferences, I guess, right? It's also called You Can Have It All. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. It's also called You Can Have It All.
Right.
And You Can Have It All magazine is very exciting. It's all about motivating kids to go after their dreams and about interaction, right? So it's an international magazine. So in that magazine, you'll see kids from Canada, from Canada, England. We have a group out of Taiwan, South Africa, Uganda,
Mm,
just different Australia, different writers, and it's all about these kids interacting and putting their spin on what's going on in their world, right? And what kind of cool things are happening and what kind of motivational things they're seeing, pictures and art and games. And it's all about just, a place where kids can be positively motivated. And so that's also digital as well. It's great content for kids, because again, we want kids to be motivated and to be able to get some motivational content. And the idea is that they can also be able to write and interact, right? So we want kids to write and say, hey, look, like for example, one article that was really interesting is, should there be zoos? And you never really think about it until the kid writes about it, and it's like, these animals are miserable. These zoos, and you don't really get to see them in their environment, so you're not really seeing the real animal. And it's like, I never thought about that. And so they get a chance to really express themselves in a safe platform,
yeah.
where they could be themselves. I think that's really cool, and it makes the world smaller. Um, because a kid, for example, in Australia is able to hear from a kid in Malaysia or in Africa and realize that we share the same ideas on some things, and I think that's cool.
Mm, incredible. Where do people access the magazine? On your website?
Yeah, they can go to ukids.world.
You kids.
Ukids.world.
We'll make sure we
Yes,
make
sir.
that.
Yeah, youkids.world. They can go right there, and they can, and it's digital as well, of course. And they can download the magazine right into their phone, or into their tablet or their device, and the kids could be able to read it and read all that positive content. There's a comic in there from Team Hot Sauce. Lots of motivational and fun stuff for them.
Incredible. You, as if you didn't or haven't done enough already, you've also published 3 books. So
Yes.
when did you find the time to do that, and what are they about?
Little by little. That's how you rewrite the books, little by little, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Just having the discipline to write, a paragraph, here or there. And I'll try to write them anywhere I can, whether I'm, waiting in the car, I'll talk something into the phone, or in the bathroom, or wherever, man, I can get some time to try to write them, and need to write more. But so you have persevere, overcome, win, which are the superpowers to give your kids the edge in life. Which is talking about ways to give your child personal development skills. So in that book, I talk about, the confidence castle, and how to give your child how to get them with confidence. I talk about work ethic, and the importance of work ethic, and how to get your child some work ethic, right? And how do you instill work ethic into your child? Discipline, environment, how to keep your child in the right environment, and the importance of environment. I go into those things. Raising extraordinary kids it's a shorter version. I broke it down into five keys that parents need. And it's a short book that allows, I'm trying to see if I have one on my desk. It's a short book that allows parents to just be able to have it in their back pocket, and kind of, read and thumb through it and get some ideas on how to develop their kids, because there's a lot that parents just don't know, right? There's no manual. We've heard it a lot. There's no manual to raising kids. And there's not necessarily a manual, but there's a lot of clues just from the years of people raising kids, is what works and what doesn't work. And then Be Unstoppable, Living Life is the newest book that I have. And that's for, young adults. And it's all about success being relative, and them actually going after their version of success, not being caught up in the idea that success means, billions of dollars. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Your version of success may be to have a happy career that you feel like you're making a difference. And so it's just getting them to understand that idea.
Incredible. Where do people find the books?
To get the books, you can go to gosfb.com. That's the gosfb.com site, is where all my personal development content is. They can find it there.
Okay. SFB, so Shaun Frederick Banks. What's the initial?
Yeah, pretty much. And SF stands for Shaun's Free. Yeah. My idea was with that was, I always wanted to be free. I always wanted to be able to, work for myself, and to materialize my ideas, is really what it was about. And so that's where the SF has come from. So I always kind of stuck with it.
Yeah. Where do you draw your inspiration from yourself?
My mom,
Your mum.
primarily my mom. Yeah, primarily my mom. I mean, just growing up as a kid, we grew up in the inner city, a single parent household. And I watched my mother just fight the adversity, and get us out of poverty, and into a different kind of life, where we didn't have to be stuck in an environment with, shooting and gangs and drugs and all that stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so, when she saw us tell me, she still tells me now, that, accomplishing a dream, dreaming is 50% of it, and the other 50% is working, right? You get that vision, and then you work and you work and you work to make it happen.
Right.
And so that's who inspires me. Yeah.
Fantastic. I can only imagine that it's a constant battle to keep everything funded. So how do you go about the funding? Do you look for sponsors? Do you have financial backers? Like, what's the approach?
Yeah. So as far as the nonprofit stuff that we do, it's the SF Banks Foundation that we have, that helps with any of our nonprofit projects. So people have an opportunity to give there, which helps out a lot for kids, like scholarships for camp and things like that. Outside of that, I mean, it's sweat equity. It's a lot of sweat equity. It's building, these businesses and things that we have, and in the face of all the adversities and challenges that come with that, and to be able to, build our dream. Because the thing about it is I want to be able to, if we can continue to fund ourselves and fund what we're doing, then there's nothing that can really shut it down. My concern has always been being dependent on, someone else to care so much that they want to give money. It's like, no, they don't have to care that much. Let us care enough and build a business that will continue to fuel our dream. And so, that's what we do. So that's why with the magazine, the shoelaces, the characters, all this stuff, that's why we have it, to continue to be able to fuel the dream, which is to help these kids out here.
Yeah, so for everyone listening, there's the call to action, team. Let's get behind Shaun and his team, and contribute in some small way at least to this fantastic cause. Final question, if you like, but what's the message you really like to give to, in this case, our listener base are leaders? So what's the message that you would give to anyone listening to today's conversation?
That's any leader that's listening?
Yeah.
My believe in your ideas, and be willing to build the plane while it's in the air. There's never a perfect time for an idea. A lot of times we'll say, when this happens, or when I save up enough for this, I'm going to do it. And what I found is that time rarely comes where all the stars are just aligned and it's just going to be a cakewalk for you to build your dream. Believe in your idea enough to jump and make it happen and build that plane in the air. John Johnson, who built Essence Magazine, says there's no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need. And so if you have an excellence, right, which is an idea, right, this thing that you think is great, and it meets a pressing public need, and there's a lot of needs right now for the people, if you got that, there's nothing that can stop it, is ultimately what that means. And so it's believe in your idea, whether you're making hundreds of millions of dollars in corporate, or you're just getting started, right? We all have these ideas that we wonder if it'll work. And I have to remind myself of the same thing. Believe in your idea and be willing to build the plane while it's in the air.
Man, you do that in leaps and bounds, I have to say. In your success stacks cards, the letter G. What is the letter G?
G? Let's see here. Let's see. What is G? E, F, G. You're going to have, so in G, you're going to have goals.
Goals.
Right? Goals. And you're going to have gratitude.
That's the one I was looking for, my friend. Nothing, absolute gratitude towards you and what you're doing and everything that you and your team are achieving and accomplishing and continue to do. You are an extraordinary individual, and I wish you so much success, not only for yourself, but also for the children and the families that you're really making a difference to. So thank you so much for introducing who you are and what you do on our show. It's been a great conversation. Really, again, Team ET, please get on board. We will link to what SFB or Shaun's Free or Shaun Banks is doing and what his team are doing. So please, I can encourage you to take the time, have a look at his sites, see how you can contribute. And Shaun, all the best for tomorrow. I believe you have another camp starting, so all the best for the next camp.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Wayne. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Yeah, extraordinary. All right, team. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And Shaun, thank you. Sign off.
Yes, sir.
So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button below and click on the bell icon so I can pop up in your feed occasionally with a great tip for your ultimate growth.